Hi, good day everyone. I'm Mr. John Comendador and I'm your instructor for today. For today's video, we will talk about the preparation for storage and maintenance of finished illustration. And our essential questions are, why is it important to learn the storage and maintenance of finished illustration? And how will it affect the overall skills needed being a comic artist, book or magazine illustrator, and cartoonist? Our learning targets are identify the different types of illustration, determine the possible risk and procedure on storing different types of illustration, and create and store a simple vector illustration. Now, let's proceed to our discussion. About the different types of illustration. Illustration is divided into two main types such as traditional illustration and modern illustration. Traditional illustration are created with the use of different materials such as charcoal, pencil, acrylic paint, watercolor, and pen and ink. Here are some examples of traditional illustration: wood cutting, pencil illustration, charcoal illustration, lithography illustration, watercolor illustration, acrylic illustration, and pen and ink illustration. Wood cutting. This is the oldest form of printmaking. Woodcut is a process in which knives and other tools are used to carve a design into the surface of a wooden block. Pencil illustration. This type of illustration are made of colored pencil or graphite lead pencil. Using pencil, an artist may apply varying shade, effects, and line weight. Charcoal illustration. Charcoal illustration may not appear as precise as pencil illustration. However, this type of illustration is used in stories, portraits, and in cases where rough construction lines need visibility. Lithography illustration. Lithography is a printing process that uses a flat stone or metal plate on which the image areas are worked using a greasy substance, so that the ink will adhere to them by, while the non-image areas are made ink repellent. Watercolor illustration. This type of illustration are made up of paint that can be mixed with water to create translucent layers of color on paper. Acrylic illustration. This type of illustration uses acrylic paint on various surfaces such as cloth or canvas to create an illustration. Acrylic paint are available in different finishes. They become water resistant once they dried up. Pen and ink illustration. The term pen and ink denote a drawing technique involving the use of black and other color ink, which are applied to a support, generally paper, with either a dip pen or reservoir. Now, let's proceed to modern illustration. Modern illustration is created or generated with the use of different electronic and digital devices. It can be freehand digital illustration or vector illustration. Freehand digital illustration. Freehand digital illustration is created the same way how artists use pen and ink to create traditional illustration. Artists creating digital art use a stylus or tablet pen to give their imagination a concrete shape. Artists can create stunning digital illustration style through an appropriate use of multiple color, tools, and brush presets. You can even address errors and implement changes quickly. Vector illustration. Artists creating vector illustration make sure that every point is represented on coordinate axis for determining the direction of the path. Vector illustration can be saved in PDF file extension. Vector graphics can be zoomed and scaled to a particular extent without having to worry about pixelation. Due to lesser flow or gradation, vector illustration can be ideally used for web illustration, logo, etc. Vector illustration is better than freehand digital illustration and primarily used in print media. You can use vector with text and typography. Besides, you can easily rotate, skew, stretch, and change the graphic for getting the desired outcome. However, vector are not really used for creating photorealistic art or for adding details to an art. After we discuss about the different types of illustration, we will now proceed to the storage and maintenance of finished illustration. Artworks or illustration can be done on canvas, papers, sketchbooks, or different digital file format. Each one had different ways to store, organize, and maintain to keep them safe from different damages. And here are some tips to store, organize, and maintain your artworks. Here are common storage situations based from Art Hardware, the definitive guide to art materials by Steven Zeitek. Common storage situation number 1. Stretch and frame artwork is supposed to put on rack that allows air to flow freely. The rack should be also exposed to minimal light to avert the appearance of fungus. Common storage situation number 2. Paper artwork can be stuck if the pieces are isolated from each other with pH-neutral sleeve sheet. Common storage situation number 3. Painting on canvas may be rolled if first they are dried thoroughly, then rolled on a thick tube with the painted side out. Protect the surface with glassine paper. Common storage situation number 4. If you're afraid that insects might harm your artwork, metal flat fire drawer are the best. Wooden drawers are recommended when the primary concern is humidity. Common storage situation number 5. For digital artwork, know your media, your resources, and their potential constraints, such as the use of open source software and proprietary software. Then there are device-specific considerations such as browser compatibility, internet download speed, hardware requirements, and screen resolution. We will now proceed to the topic, preparing the art for storage. Number 1. Always wear latex or cotton gloves when handling art. Some materials are very sensitive, even to the grease and oil on your fingers. Number 2. Check that all artwork is dry. Oil paintings, for example, can take up to an entire year to dry. Number 3. Cleaning artwork before storage will extend its lifespan. Use a dry microfiber cloth to gently sweep across frame, ceramics, and glass panel. Use a soft and wide brushes for painted surfaces and drawing. Number 4. Protect frame painting with acid-free tissue. Many packaging materials contain acid, and though art will age much faster and change its color. Using acid-free tissue, wrap it around the painting to protect it and give it breathing room. Do not use plastic wrap because it may trap humidity inside. Number 5. Put smaller prints together in sturdy folder or archival box. Use acid-free paper to separate them from each other. Number 6. Unframed paper can be sold in glassine, about 2 times the size of each piece. Wrap it as you would wrap a present, then tape it down. Number 7. Organize your digital artwork. Maintaining good data hygiene means organizing your collection, whether online or offline. There are numerous methods for establishing hierarchies, but here are some very simple practices for file naming and folder construction. Add categories on the file name, such as version and date. Use underscore to separate words. Use hyphen to separate categories. Lowercase and uppercase matter. Pick a system and stay consistent. For folder structure, create main folder for each project or artwork. Then create subfolder for source file, example files used to generate the project. Last, create a subfolder for file distribution. Examples are high-resolution image for printing. Number 8. Always create backup for your digital artwork. For example, first, save it on your desktop computer. Second, automatically create backup on your external storage such as flash drive or external hard drive. Third, save it on your cloud storage. For our hands-on activity, we will create simple vector illustration using Adobe Photoshop. The tool that we are going to use is what we call Pen tool. Pen tool creates vector graphics using mathematical points and curve. Unlike brush tool, which change the color value of pixels, Pen tool creates mathematical object and represent curves and shape. Pen tool creates anchor point. These are points connected in a sequence that determine the vector of a curve. Usually the curve passes directly through every anchor point, so the curve is called path. An anchor point has 2 handles which can be adjusted together or independently to alter the path slope as it passes through the point. If the handles are parallel, the curve passes smoothly through the point. If the handles form an angle, the curve is jagged at that point. Steps on how to create burger vector illustration. Now we will open Adobe Photoshop. Then press Ctrl N in order for us to create new file. Then change the name of the file. You can also manipulate the size and the resolution, even the color mode. Then press OK. Now we will import the color reference that we are going to use. Then resize it and place it on the side of the illustration. Now we will create layer for every part of the image in order for us to easily manipulate the part of the image. Now we will activate the pen tool. Then create anchor point. Drag the handle in order for us to create curve and click for another anchor point. Then we will drag the handle of every anchor point until we are satisfied on the shape that we created. If we are now satisfied with the shape of the object after we enclose it, we will now click the solid color option. To add and apply color, select the color from the color reference. Now, using pen tool, we will create a vector shape for ketchup. Then click the solid color and choose the color from the reference. We will continue the steps until we create all the parts of the image. To add interest on our illustration, we will add highlight and shadow. Now we will select all the layers that we created, then press Ctrl G in order for us to group all the layers. Now we will add shadow on the bottom part of the illustration to create illusion of placement. Now that we already created a vector illustration for burger, we will now save our work. We will now save it on PSD file format or Photoshop document. PSD file format will allow us to manipulate or reopen the file and apply some changes. We will also save it on JPEG file format in order for us to view the image that we created. The PSD and JPEG file format is now saved on our desktop. Now we will create folder to organize our work. Now we will discuss our essential questions. Learning the storage and maintenance of finished illustration will help every artwork creator to manage the different process on how to keep and properly store their artwork to extend the artwork lifespan, whether it is done on paper, canvas, sketchbook, or even on different digital file format. Being comic artist, book or magazine illustrator, and cartoonist, it is important to learn the skills on storing and maintaining different illustration because it will help them to avoid the possible damages on their creations. Thank you for watching. See you on our next video.